Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Count MRVHS and let's play some Thrones of Britannia. This is a game that I actually enjoy a whole lot, completely unironically. This is by far my favorite Total War game since Rome 1. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. And now I haven't played all of them. I have played Attila, though. I've played Rome 2, and I've spent, a fair amount of time in Attila, but there is something about this game that really appeals to me. It could be that I'm getting older, and so I get less time to fiddle around with all of the copious mechanics and systems that you can find in some of the other titles, but I don't know. This one's nice. It's also a bit of the lore, the period, but anyway, let's jump into it. We'll talk about it as we get going. We're going to try a Circenn campaign. We're going to try it very hard across the board. I don't like Legendary just because I don't like the saving issue. So we'll just kind of go in here and we'll talk about these factors as the game takes a while to load up because, I don't know how well optimized this is. I think it's better than Attila, though, but we're still going to run into long load times. Okay, so yes, Circenn, why do I like this faction? Well, this has got everything that a player like me enjoys. It's weird. It's got a bit of everything, right? And by that it means it lacks a lot of things. So you jump into Thrones of Britannia, you know the gist. It's like a Viking Anglo-Saxon game. So first off, Circenn is neither a Viking nor an Anglo-Saxon faction. You don't get the guys with the big two-handed axes. You don't get particularly good like axe infantry from what I recall. It says, what does it say? Good all around. You get kind of a little bit of a lot of things. And your standout infantry unit is spearmen, which is weird. You only get one unit, but they do upgrade. They're also unusual in that they are the only spear unit in the game that can form this square. That I think they call it a schiltrom or something. In this game, it's like a square basically, but it's the only faction that has a unit that can do that. And it's very niche as well. This is not something that you're gonna want to use a lot because, having a line of a bunch of blobs with squares in the in the front of your battle isn't always a good option, but I like that it's there. What else do you get? You get some weird missile units too. You get crossbowmen. You're the only faction that gets that. Your cavalry is like very finicky skirmish cav. In this game, skirmish cav is again can be very strong, but is tricky to get a handle on, at least in my experience. Unlike in Rome 1, you can't, like, cav just doesn't dominate all the time. So in Rome 1, you could have a unit of skirmish or cav of almost any quality, run rings around your enemy, and even if they're just armed with, like, daggers or something, you can pretty much dominate. That doesn't seem to be the case here. And you also get some weird campaign mechanics. So this is just an all-around kind of a weird faction. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to skip this intro because the art style is neat, and but I don't like her voice either. Okay, so mission issued. Like all of the factions in Thrones of Britannia, you start off right immediately with a clear indication of what to do, and I do enjoy that. Let me just talk a bit about Pharaoh. Can I? This is going to be a ramble. This is going to be a weird video. That's okay. I'm just doing this for fun. I don't know how far we're going to take this campaign, but so Total War Pharaoh, because I have this perverse inclination to do the opposite of what a lot of people think. This is a flaw, by the way. I'm not bragging somehow about this. This is not a good impulse, right? But when Pharaoh came out and had all these bad reviews, I thought, well, actually, maybe I could enjoy it, and maybe they're just all missing something, right? Maybe it's so special that only I and a select few could see the potential. So, I got it, and then I opened it up and then immediately just closed it out once I saw what I was getting into. And what turned me off was not the limited map, not the lack of faction diversity or whatever, but no, it was the systems. It was that, okay, I'm going to have to learn a whole other thing with like points and percentages and numbers, and I do not have the time. I don't have the... There are things that I need to be doing with my life, okay? I'm not a 29-year-old anymore who had like a decent amount of free time. Once I got off work, I could sort of just dump hours into anything. No, I've got like kids and stuff and things that I want to accomplish with my life before I die. So like one of those doesn't necessarily need to be learning an entirely new game system with all these mechanics that are supposedly very reflective of reality or whatever. Some people like that stuff, and I get it. That's awesome. What I'm looking for in a game as I get older, though, is a feeling. It's more about the atmosphere. It's more about can you allow me to recreate an experience that I've read about, that I already have some understanding of. Because I'm not going to sit in front of a computer screen to learn something. I've learned that about myself. I'm going to learn stuff by reading about it, by getting inspired to read something cool I read in like a history book or in a novel or something. Or maybe I'll see a video, right? Like, and I'm sort of passively watching YouTube. Something comes across my feed, and I'll watch that, and maybe I'll read more about it. But I'm not going to play a game to learn something. That's a different kind of thing for me. So Pharaoh's, all the mechanics, and yes, I checked out the Dynasties update is what it is, and it's just, they just doubled down on that stuff. And like, there's so many things to, you've got to worship this god, and then you get this edict which does this, and by the way, all of the notifications telling you, hey, you forgot to do this thing, do you really want to end it? It's like, yes, just let me end the friggin' turn, right? So there's some of that in this game. There's some of it in all the new Total War games. But I really prefer the older style in some ways, where you like Medieval 1, Rome 1, where it was like, yeah, you can screw up, just do what you want. We'll give you notifications and tell you how it's going to go, but we're not gonna oversaturate you with options. And that's what I feel like I'm trying to deal with whenever I open up a new Total War game. It took me a few years to muster up the energy to learn Attila, right? To the point where I could play it and then get a few campaigns under my belt. And that's a good game. The problem with Attila, the reason I said at the beginning that I prefer this game to Attila, is that there is so much downtime in Attila where you are simply waiting for text to get researched before you get to the fun stuff. It's like the game is like, oh boy, we got some fun coming up. Trust me, 100 turns down the line, you're going to get some amazing units, right? Or like, in another 20 turns, you're going to have enough population to make another horde. Doesn't that sound fun? But yeah, you got to sit and camp for a while before you're allowed to enjoy the game. And I would love people to, I don't know, come at me with this in the comments, because I know there are a lot of people who love Attila, and that's great. I really enjoy it. Again, that is a game that I do enjoy the atmosphere. But I feel like I'm struggling. There's too much friction in it, right? Like there's too much of, you gotta wait, you gotta do this thing, you gotta do this other thing. And the skills are kind of boring, there's something, it just feels a little samey. So anyway, that's my little rant about Attila. I do think it's a good game. I think the battles are great. There's maybe too few of them, too few really fun, meaningful battles, at least with the factions that I've played. And maybe that's a function of me playing mostly like either Horde factions or like I always try the Huns or the White Huns in a vain attempt to get a bunch of like underlings, get those protectorates under my belt, like get those client states. And that can be kind of fun, but the game it wasn't really designed for you to play Puppet Master with a Horde faction, sadly. It feels like, at least in my experience. And playing the Roman factions doesn't really appeal to me, oddly. I love the idea of playing a sort of defeated faction. The problem is they seem, they're very big, right? And so I don't like having to manage a vast empire and like having to fight, 20 or more battles a turn that are doomed to lose only so that you can weaken, the enemy. Maybe it just that just tests my patience. So it seems like there's too many battles for like some of the Roman factions, but not enough interesting battles for the other factions. So anyway, this strikes a good balance in my view. Battles are meaningful. It's very important whether you win or lose. It's tied in with food. It's tied in with public order. There's a lot of things where the systems in this game, I just feel they got it right. And it still pisses me off that you have big YouTubers like Legend of Total War, who has a lot of great opinions, I am sure, just dunk on this game when it first came out, do you guys remember the before times? Do you remember 2018, right? When the biggest problem was this game right here? Could we please go back to that time? Before the 2020 madness, right? And before whatever we're in now with Total War and video games in general, this was the biggest problem. You had a game that was intended from its inception to be a short, quick entry into Total War, just a quick play for an evening kind of a game is the way I interpreted it from the marketing of this thing. And it didn't have ambush stance. Right? Like, that was the big problem. Oh, it's stripped of features. Yeah, it's like, maybe I'm 45 and, I've got an hour to play, right? And so, like, I like a game that delivers the drama that is inherent to a Total War, to the promise of a Total War campaign, without all of the micromanaging, right? Without having to nickel and dime pluses and minuses. Now, there is some of that in this game, but you can kind of take it or leave it, right? And so maybe I'm just a big dumb, but this really appeals to me. So anyway, this is our first mission. The first mission for any faction is beat some rebels. So you get a battle, you get it really quick. It introduces you to some of the systems of the campaign, which is you get some public order bonus for all of your regions for doing something cool. I like this. Makes sense. You win a battle, you get some public order. That's kind of how it worked, right, in the days, right? You get a king who could prove he could defend his people, and that conveyed a bit of strength. This is a measurable bonus. +5 is not nothing, especially in this game at this difficulty level. And unit replenishment is big, too, because you can't be training endlessly. There are caps to it. People hated that for some reason. Anyway. We got to eliminate these rebels, so let's accept that. They're up here. Now, you'll notice we're also even in terms of numbers.
We will not fail you.
All right, there's a bit. I wish Total War hadn't added the vocalization all of the time. Is that in Rome? Yes, I think it is. I think the verbal stuff is in Rome. I kind of wish they just kept it like the strong and silent type in Medieval 1. You click on something, you didn't have a guy yelling at you. But anyway, we've got our king here, who is Ad. And we've got some Alban Levy spearmen. This is our sort of our unusual spear unit. This is the only spear unit we can train, basically, but again, they can be upgraded, and they can perform this square. So what this does is it's immobile. It takes 3 seconds to assemble, but it gives them a big attack versus cav, a big shield bonus, and a lot of mass, which means they can't be pushed back as easily, I imagine. And they can hide in the forest. They get expert charge defense, which is, fine. Okay, and then what else? They can get upgraded. It tells you what all these things are going to do. That's fine. That's fine. Let's take a look, by the way, at our recruitment. If we were to recruit a new unit here, which is, where do I do that? Where do I do that? Where do I do that? It's been such a long time. Let's look at our general, actually. Look at our general details. So this is our king. You can tell because he's got the crown, the crown. And he's not so great initially. So his zeal, you can tell this largely affects, well, a few different things. We've got a commander's aura, which gives, morale bonuses to people within it. You can see that when we get to the battlefield. Public order, again, is very nice, but that only works within a particular province that he is standing in. So his position matters. And then unit morale and so on. And these, increase as they go up. And then eventually at level 10, which we'll probably not live to see, you get a diplomatic bonus. He's got no governance, though. This could be stronger, in my opinion. The governance quills don't seem to have such a big impact. At least the difference from one to the next level isn't huge. But you can see it's some bonuses. The problem with it is, if you are not a governor, this does basically nothing for you. So as long as we don't put him in a governance position, I don't think this matters. This may have some impact because he's the king, but I can't remember. And then with command, let's see. Yes, so this is going to give you little bonuses to do things, to rally at different levels. And then eventually it's going to give you another ability. They didn't go overboard with abilities in this game. And I think, again, I think that's a bit of a strength. Like in Attila, you've got every unit has an ability. Practically, not all of them. But, you've got to babysit them and click the buttons at the right time. And that doesn't seem super Total War-ish to me. You've got some things here that you can do, but it seems reasonable. You got the shield wall thing. Anyway, so he's not great at command either, but he's better at zeal, which is kind of nice. Influence is low. This is actually going to be a big problem for us. And I love this about this game. Influence really matters. You can have rebelling generals and stuff. It feels very period appropriate. So influence is a stat that all generals have. If your king's influence is lower than a general, the general is going to get disloyal. And if you're playing on very hard sort of political difficulty like I am, that can be devastating. Let's actually take a look at that. We've got low loyalty on this character. So we'll click it, go to our family tree here, and one of our statesmen. Sure enough, Riggin has only one loyalty. That's not good. And that is because why? He's more influential than the ruler. That's part of it. So he's got a -2. We can attempt to fix this by maybe seeking a wife and hoping she gives a loyalty boon. Maybe we can give him a title. You know, there are various things that we can do. In fact, let's take a look at the estates. Riggin, let's see. He is just a noble, right? So he's not any particular anybody. But if we were to give him an estate, an agricultural estate, that would improve his loyalty by 1, but it would also notably improve his influence. So that's going to make it harder. And he's at 6. This guy, by the way, is at 10. This is, I think, my heir. But we'll see.
For the glory of the Gales.
Yes, for the glory. They just randomly shout. So anyway, religious estates. So he's got one of these. I could give this away. What's Riggin going to get? He's going to get some influence and loyalty from that. Noble estates are kind of a long way off, but Fothad has some agricultural estates. So agricultural estates show up on the map, and so do religious estates, by the way. They show you if they're currently held by the king, or if they're not, they don't have the crown, right? So this is held by Fothad, who is this guy, which is why he is not in the red in terms of loyalty right now. He's got that agricultural estate. There are a few others. They are currently held by this guy, and the fact that he's got 3 rather than 1 influence is solely due to these 2 agricultural estates. He's probably a governor. Yeah, he's a governor of Monmouth. So he governs this area, I guess, and Fothad probably governs down here. So Riggin isn't anything. What we could do is we could recruit him as a general and, you know, maybe start winning some battles, start getting our loyalty, our king's influence up, start getting some loyalty here. But it's a bit risky, as you can see, because if anything happens to drop this loyalty to 0, he's going to defect, and there will be a civil war. Now, civil wars in this game are not huge. They're not like empire-ending struggles, but they are important. Let me just get adjusted here a little bit, move my chair around. Yeah, so civil wars are important because the longer you leave them, when a character sort of defects, it just grows. The problem gets worse. So it's not going to end you, but it is something you do have to attend. Okay, so the question is, you know, do we want to do something here? We've got our governors assigned. You know, we don't have anything we can do here other than boot them out, but that would be bad for loyalty. We don't have really anything we can do with estates. Let's take a look, though, at our faction allegiance and sort of public order. So, yeah, this isn't looking great. I mean, Monmouth is at a -2. And part of that, I mean, our allegiance is pretty good, actually. Faction allegiance here is 100%. I mean, it is going down, but what about down here in Circenn itself? Yeah, it's at 100%. Loyalty's pretty decent. So I could, in other words, I could give the religious estates that Aid has to somebody else. They're not giving him any influence anyway. They would give other people influence, right? So if I thought that was a problem, if I thought Riggin was a real problem, I could give him the religious estates. That wouldn't have any bad effects. Sometimes people have traits that give them bad effects if they get certain estates. So there's a bit of a balance there, which I like. It's simple. It's sort of easy to see. It seems reasonable. So that's definitely a thought. I don't think I'm going to do it just yet. But let's take a look at the other thing here. We've got tech as well. And as you can see, we've got this divided into military and then civic technologies. Now these are more like chains than trees. It's okay. Like, I think this is an area where it could have been improved. And if this game had continued to get some support, I imagine there could have been some neat innovations and slightly more complex trees. But on the other hand, there is nothing more off-putting to me than the absolute nightmare constellation web of techs or whatever they are in Pharaoh dynasties. It is just a visual god-awful nightmare. So if you know what I'm talking about, like, again, just, maybe there's something I'm missing about this, but it's just a nightmare to navigate. So this is clear, right? In civic techs, you've got it divided into agriculture, industry, military support, leadership, trade, and community, right? And you can see, based on the little icons, generally speaking, what you're going to get. This little icon means fame. This means decrease in corruption. This means increase in certain kind of income, right? Loyalty and influence to generals, right? So what this does, if you research this, everyone's going to get +1 influence, which is kind of nice because your king having a higher influence does give bonuses, even if everyone else has a high influence. And everyone gets extra loyalty, so that's really cool. You know, public order. You want to keep an eye on these, especially early in the game. If you can get the community up, which doesn't take too long, or you can get agriculture up to here, you're going to get a public order in all your regions. You stack some of these together, and things are looking pretty decent. And then here with military, it's funny because military stuff is generally easier to achieve. So I can't actually start researching anything here until I unlock the first link in any chain, right? So to do agriculture, I need to build within the granary, the souterrain, or the fugo chains, or conquer a region to the highest level building. It's easiest usually to build in that first tier. So I could do that and start working on this. The problem is there's kind of a disincentive to jump right in because all this allows initially is the building of a watermill, right? And that's kind of unexciting. So this doesn't give you any faction-wide bonuses. It just allows you to spend money in something else, which can also have downsides. So a lot of buildings have negatives as well as bonuses. Then you get supplies, which is nice, but not super awesome. And then eventually you get your public order, right? So this is like a good chain, especially up to around here and even up around here. But it takes a little while to get there. All of these by default, by the way, take 4 turns to research. With the military, it's a little different. You don't have to build something for sort of a delayed gratification. Instead, you train stuff, which you're going to do anyway, and you get a relatively immediate gratification. So if I really want wolfhounds, it's another thing about this faction, man. Like, they've got some weird stuff. Wolfhounds at the sword and axe tier. Okay. I like it. I like weird... You know, if you follow the channel at all, you know I like factions with, like, chariots and stuff. So you would think I would love Pharaoh, right? But no. Wolfhounds, right? So it tells you don't get them until you research this thing. Spearmen, right? You train 5 spearmen units, and then you're going to get a +6 to the melee skill for spear infantry. That's nice. And then it gradually allows you to upgrade that 1 spear unit that you get, the Alban spearmen, and then they become Shiltron, right? Missile units, right? So we're going to unlock these things first, typically. Okay, what else do I need to check here? Well, I think we're probably pretty good. But in order to train stuff, the thing that I'm forgetting is you need to be in a town or you need to be in a fortification stance. This allows you to recruit as long as you're in your own territory. Only 2 stances in this game, and yeah, maybe forced march would be good. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the critique that there's not enough stances in Thrones of Britannia. People point to things like Harold Godwinson's march from York down to London in like 2 weeks, or I don't know how long it took him, but, you know, is an impressive march. He marched all the way up to York, and this map is huge, right? He marches all the way up here to defeat Harold Hardrada in 1066, and then has to march all the way down here to meet, to Hastings, to Pevensey, right? To meet William the Conqueror, like, in a very short period of time. So people are like, well, forced march, that should be a thing. There is no way they're going to make a march that allows you to do this. And by the way, this is like a seasonal turn period, so you got spring, summer, etc. So it's what, 3 months? So should I be able to march this entire breadth of Britannia in 1 turn? Like, no way, right? There's concessions to gameplay here. The map is huge and detailed, and that means that, you know, you're going to have some limitations there. Now, you can increase the march rate. It's not a stance, but you can research things. You can get traits for your characters that allow them to upgrade that ability. Anyway, I'm blabbing. Let's jump into the campaign.
Warriors are unparalleled.
Yes, indeed they are. Okay, so here we've got available units. The genius of the recruitment in Thrones of Britannia is that it is linked to food production, making farms and food-improving buildings paramount if you want to raise and maintain an army of any size. The other thing that I like about this compared to, say, Attila and Rome 2 is that in this game it is not like a requirement that you have 2 stacks in tandem all the time. In Rome 2, it feels like if you don't have 2 full stacks, you are just going to get plowed by the AI. I had a very enjoyable, 10 or 20 turns in Rome Rise of the Republic. That's a DLC for Rome 2. Really cool little era, focused campaign, Italy, Sicily, nearby area. I'd love to get into it, but the problem is I started a campaign as, Sicily. It doesn't matter. You pick any faction, and you're going to sort of, gradually work up, get a nice stack going, which is what you normally do. And then you go out and discover that the AI has 2 stacks, and they just gang up on you because the AI knows the movement points, they know the matchups really well, and they just sort of work in tandem and destroy you. And Attila does the same thing. So you have to have like these 2 armies it's just too much, right? It's too much. This campaign, you're going to see a lot more of these little 6 stacks, 2 stacks, right? Like not a lot of units in a stack necessarily. Sometimes, yes, you will get the big armies, but it's not all the time. So it's a little bit of a return to form in what you'd see in like, Rome 1, where there are some little armies. But nevertheless, it's still decisive battles, unlike in Rome 1, where those little meaningless bandit stacks or little AI stacks that just dither around on their borders and doesn't matter if you attack and defeat them. Here it matters because that army is going to get into your farms, into your villages, and raid and destroy them. So, speaking of food, we've got a decent amount here. Okay, we've got a surplus of food, and that means every army is going to take 10 food, which you can see in the left-hand bar. So that's on the screen now. There's a little food that says 10. So that's going to take me 10 food for my 95. That means I can get 9 more units here. I've got 6. I can get 9 more. That means a 17 full stack. But as soon as I recruit them, they're going to appear at a depleted state. So I need to be careful about this because I don't want to run myself into a food debt or into an economic debt, because units have economic upkeep as well, by just recruiting everything initially. But that said, I would like to get going on my units. So let's train. Let's get going on. Let's see, some spears. Okay, we'll get our 3 spears. And I think we'll call that good. We've got a unit that's decent. We're gonna get some spears. So there they are. Okay, see how they're just like 36 men each. And that's it for now. These units, as you can see, are not available for training just yet. They are going to require a tech in particular, but we do have a lot initially. So we could get crossbows if we wanted them right now. I don't think we need them right now, quite honestly. And our cav, is pretty decent actually. We get some options with cav. But yeah, we don't have any of the big 2-handed axe guys. The strengths of this faction are probably the swords actually. The axes are just okay in my view. They're kind of good, cheap, aggressive units. They do more damage against armor than swords do. But swords, like these guys are initially got nice strong armor. So maybe I'll grab one of these. Okay, and I think that's decent. And then we can just attack. All right, they are actually going to take that, which is pretty typical. And what they've got here is, let's just actually click it, because we're going to have a little bit of a loading screen here. But we can observe, so yeah, they are bringing 2 archers just like we are. They're bringing a spear and an axe. We've got a spear and a sword. And they've got skirmish cav and a cav general. We've got a cav general and melee cav. That skirmish cav is going to be the biggest annoyance. Their archers are going to be annoying too, but we can usually do this battle in such a way that we seize the terrain and make it work out in our favor. So, battles. One of the things that you'll hear about this game that people like to say is that the campaign is shallow, the campaign was hollowed out, but the battles are okay. The battles are the strong point, especially siege battles, and I find that such a weird critique, or such a weird take. Now, I understand it. I understand saying that the sieges are good because the sieges do have interesting layouts. They did do some good work in this game representing certain cities, settlements and fortifications. It's still a little weird. I'm gonna say that, to me the sieges are fine. I appreciate the layouts, but I'm not a big fan of fighting sieges anyway, so that's not really the selling point to me. And the battles in this game are your typical post-Empire Warscape engine. Is that what it is? Yeah, Warscape engine battles, which I'm not a big fan of, quite honestly. So the battles in this game I could kind of take or leave. They're workable, and the important thing is that they support the campaign, the gameplay as I see it. So we'll see what I'm talking about here. We've got rain. Let's actually fight in the rain. I think they're going to have a bit better of a setup for archers, so we're going to deny them that by fighting in this weather. Although, they're just going to have the high ground. So let's take a look at our units. That's what people like to do. I feel like I'm being, I don't know, a bit catty in this video, and I don't really mean to be, but this is nice. The units are fine. I like the detail of the soldiers, I guess. The complaint you hear is that they all look alike. There's 5 guys, and that's about it, which is fair. Like you can see right here, all of these faces are identical, right? No dispute there. But I don't care about that so much because I was playing in Rome 1 where they had no faces. There were no faces whatsoever on these units. And in Medieval 1 there were no faces. Rome 1 there were faces, but they were all identical, absolutely identical uniforms and everything else. The thing that's cool, not with these guys, but with some, I think it's the Anglo-Saxon and Viking factions, you can see the pattern welding patterns on the swords, and I like that. That's neat. But I am never zooming into this level, right? Let's go to the king. Where is he? Over here? Yeah, this guy. This guy's got a nice... No, he doesn't. He's got a garbage... I don't know what you'd call a non-pattern welded sword. Maybe it's just the weather that I can't see it. But no, it's... doesn't look like it is. Okay. So, the goal here... obviously, we've got a couple of units that, like in Attila, can, deploy outside. But that doesn't matter, right? Really, like in Attila, because if they all can't do it, I don't really want my archers to be on the front line getting sniped. I will get my levies in the back, because their goal is not to fight in this battle, right? You guys can just hang out. We do have black blades, actually. They might have some nice swords that we can look at. No, it's just typical low quality, not nice pattern welded swords, I guess. Okay, fair enough. We've got our 2 units. None of our guys get the shield wall ability just yet. The black blades do, but they're the only one that does. We get a lot more units that can do square. I'll show you what that looks like here. It's kind of funky. I don't know what these little corner ends are. It seems like a bad move. But regardless, that's the square. We're not going to use it. Okay, you go here. And then we've got all melee calves, so we may as well keep them all together. And let's, I guess, group all this. Can I do that? Yeah, we'll do that. And we'll set you over here. And we're just going to take our time. And we will just do that. Yeah, we want to get sort of a bit of the high ground and then sort of come down and hit him here. So again, it's fine. Battles are fine. You can have some really engaging battles in this game. I'm not trying to, talk down about it or anything, but it's funny how I just have the total opposite feeling about this game. I think, maybe people, and maybe I'm making too much of it, maybe I'm stuck in the mentality of like 2018 because I don't pay attention to Reddit. I don't, you know, look at the discourse around video games very much. But I did, you know, like a few years back. And so maybe this is no longer the case, right? That that people feel this way about this game. Maybe they've realized that it's actually better than we gave it credit for. I don't know. I'm trying to remember my buttons here because it has been a while. Okay, so if I can do that, and if I click R, they will just walk. Yeah, okay. Let's get in the woods, and I know there's going to be some units here. Okay, we're starting to see them. Our guys are starting to skirmish away. We're winded, but you know what? I'm just going to charge in. And let's hit their royal. Are we going to lose our king here? I don't think so. Cavalry battles are weird in this game. We haven't lost anything yet. Oh, there we go. We lost one. But they're losing decisively. And this is what I mean about the battles. Like, is this fun? Is this good? It looks a little weird. Like, okay, I got blood DLC. I shelled out the $2, not to brag or anything. Alright, let's maybe pull back. Get some guys. Oh yeah, see, we're already routing him. We get the king. The enemy general is dead. Okay, great. So we'll run down here, and now it's run down the archers, and I think we're good after that point. Our archers are shooting. That's nice. There is a propensity in this game for units to just stop following guys because they lose them in the trees, which is rather annoying. You know, I wish they would just stay on them more. And this is potentially going to be annoying because we may not catch these guys. Okay, we did catch him. And we're fighting Highland Levy archers with our king. I think that's going to be okay. What are you, archers again? Okay. Let's get you guys down so you can shoot more. Alright, I think this is going to be good. Yeah, our cav is doing great. I mean, skirmish cav in this game is so weak in melee. And archers are so temperamental that they are very, like, these guys are shaken, right? Like, our archers very frequently will flee. We'll see this happen in many battles, where our archers are just going to give up the ghost after a few volleys of the enemy. And partly that's because of the battle difficulty, I guess, but it's also just they made archers super weak, which I'm okay with. You know, you don't want archers to be super strong, I think, in a game set in the Viking era, right? You want it to be kind of a slugfest. It's about the infantry, so I'm okay with that choice. Now, the annoying thing is, look how bad, this is a Warscape thing. Look how bad our guys are at killing the enemy, and it's because of this nonsense. It's because of this garbage, okay? See this? This is, this is a matched combat where we've got to have the animations line up, and we've got to have a guy fighting a guy, right? And so it can't just be we wipe them out like you could just swipe your cav through the enemy in Rome Total War. You could do it in Medieval 1. Medieval 2 is where it started to get really funky with chasing down routers, in my opinion. It was just you would watch the route phase. It would take as long as the battle itself, practically. Right, so, like, yeah, what are you guys doing? Well, we're waiting for our guys to either do a charge or to, like, match up and take out these guys one by one. Okay. And we kind of have to do this. This is the other thing. Because if you don't, there's going to be enough guys left over so that you didn't actually eliminate the rebel stack, and therefore you didn't complete the mission. So there's going to be some cleanup. Now, like in future episodes, if we continue this campaign for a while, I may edit that stuff out, right? Who knows if you know, my respect for my viewers' time will grow over the course of this campaign. We'll see. It remains to be seen. if I get 200 likes, I will make good videos. How about that? That's the goal. I just need 200 likes. We can make it happen, and then I will show some gosh darn respect for my viewers' time. Right, we'll pretty much always take on warriors. But that was maybe a mistake, right? Because can I take him out? Okay. So see, a bunch of them still is 11 guys. So we didn't complete the mission yet. Fortunately, they didn't retreat that far, so we can just do this. And now is where you want to auto-resolve. Auto-resolve is pretty good in this game. It's pretty fine, especially in a game where, you know, replenishing is automatic. So I hope we don't lose any of these units, but I don't want to play this out. Let's do balanced tactics. And we're going to get some gory stuff. That's certainly the most tame. We're going to get some disembowelings over the course of the campaign here. It's a little unnecessary, but okay. Internal stability. We achieved our mission. So that's actually nice, because now in Monoth, instead of like what we had a -2, we're at a 3 now, which is great, because there is now no chance of a rebellion. There was a 2% chance of a rebellion earlier. Every turn, every time we clicked end turn, we were going to get that chance of rebellion. Okay, there's one more mechanic that I want to talk about with regard to this faction, and it's awesome, and it's called legitimacy. And this is available not only to the Circenn, the Scottish faction, but also to the other Gaelic faction, which is, what are they? Mead. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that quite right, but they're the central faction in Ireland, and they're also a part of the Gaelic culture. They have legitimacy too. Now, this works by, you know, what do? You don't win battles to get it, sadly, but you get it by making cultural allies. So if we ally with other Gaels, we're going to increase it. If we own cultural land, that's going to increase it. Defending your allies, and so on. The problem with us is that there is really only a very limited way that we can use it here, because there's only one other Gaelic faction. And so one thing you can do very early on, very easily, as the Circenn faction, is take over for these guys. These guys get into trouble, the Fortrue faction. They often get into war with Orkney, which is these guys, sort of a Sea King Viking faction. And that's probably going to happen at the end of this turn. And they may be attacked by these jerks as well, Athfolk Law, who command sort of the central Highland area, and they're going to be a problem for us. But if Fortrio gets squeezed by these two factions, they will almost always capitulate. And what we can do with it is annex. That's what that crown symbol near the bottom of this tooltip says. It costs 20 legitimacy to annex another faction into ours. And I think we can only do that with like Scottish Gaelic factions, so there's really only like 2 options. We're never going to be able to annex Athfolk Law because they are jerks, but we will like guarantee to be able to annex Fortrio. And what that does is it basically hands the faction over to you. They start flying our flag, we get their family members as part of our family tree, and we get their cities and we get their armies. Now, on the surface of it, that sounds awesome, and I like doing this, but it is not without its problems, because you inherit their debt. In other words, you have to pay upkeep for all their armies, and upkeep not only in terms of money, but in terms of food. And you also inherit, their wars, I believe. So that can be a big problem. All of a sudden, yes, we could get like a bunch of new units, but we may not be able to pay for them, and that can really lead to a disaster. So this can be, it's very fun, right? And I think that's why I like Circenn so much, because as you can see, they're kind of all over the place with their units, and they've got some weird idiosyncratic units, and they've also got some idiosyncratic mechanics to try to play with. This, by the way, legitimacy is much more useful if you're playing as Mead, because there's a lot of Gaelic factions. And so you can annex like a lot of the island if you play your cards right, and it's super fun to do that. It's a little weird, it decreases over time. So if we like just hold on for like a year, and don't do much, then this is going to decrease and we won't have the requisite 20 to annex anybody, but it may not matter. Still, you want your legitimacy to be high rather than low because you start losing stuff, right? You're losing loyalty and so on if it decreases too much. So what do we need to do? Well, we got to have good allies. We got to do raids against enemies. We've got to research certain texts, I suppose, which is actually a very long way off. It's in the civic tree. Like this gives you some legitimacy, big deal, right? Like eventually we'll want to do it because it's going to be tricky to keep this bar up, very tricky. But what else? Events can give it to you. Certain buildings can give it, and decrees, and then can cost it, and then natural decline. Speaking of decrees, where's that? It's probably not here. It's not in the family tree. We can do decrees. We can do decrees. They're up here. Yes, decrees. So this, again, the problem is legitimacy is used for a few different things, right? So all of these are going to cost us 5, as well as some cash. And we could do this one, but I think this is unnecessary, at least currently, because as we've seen, our faction allegiance is not our problem. We've got 100% Kirkin Scottish pride running through our veins right now. But as soon as we start to take over Viking territory, like anything outside of our homelands, really, that is going to be a problem. But I just never see it as being useful to do that right now. We did get a trait in this battle, which is nice, actually. He got a gammy arm, so he got kind of wounded. He got in the fray a little bit. And this actually is a decrease to enemy morale because his arm is so gross. So that's great. He's got like a really smelly cast, is what I'm imagining here. Got to take care of yourself, man. Okay. Now, the big problem with this, the move that we just made, is that currently we've got a friendly faction up here. But we've got an enemy down here. And so the question is always, how do we defend what we have? We don't have any other generals at all. And so if these jerks decide, as they almost certainly will, to come down and attack our capital Scone, then we're kind of screwed. We could bring these guys down, but see how long it's going to take, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns, to get down here. 4 turns. Do we want to have a faction up here to protect our allies? Or do we want to have, an army down here to protect our heartlands? Let's jump into diplomacy then and see if we can make anything of this. We actually, yes, we've got a military alliance with the jerks, with Athfolkla. So let's check this out. So, okay, it's neutral and improving. They don't have any feelings about anybody else. But the problem is this guy is aggressive and double dealing. And words mean nothing, right? So if we attack a faction and sort of say, hey, can you kind of help us out? He's probably not going to. And he's going to use that as an opportunity to drop his alliance and then attack us if we're weak. So this is a big problem for us. I don't think there's much we can do about it. We could try to throw money at the problem, but I think we're going to have to take this anyway, right? And Fortrio is screwed. I don't think I've ever seen them do well. But we have a defensive pact with them. And so if they're attacked, which they will be almost certainly once we click end turn, we have to decide, are we going to stick with them, or are we going to drop our alliance, which is a big problem in terms of like influence, reliability, trustworthiness, and stuff. So you've got some very interesting diplomatic problems right off the bat. Let's do some easy stuff though, like Stratclute. Let's see, what does Athfolkla think about Stratclute? They're friendly to them. Okay, I would like to work up something with Stratclute because I'd like a nice protection on my southern border. These guys tend not to be like a big threat to us, but like Northumbria totally does. This is a Viking faction, and they're super fun. I'd love to give them a spin in a Let's Play eventually. But let's go for something easy.
We have a visitor.
Okay, they do have accents. They've got accents which are okay. This guy has, I guess, what is supposed to be a Welsh accent, which is a new thing for me. I'm not super familiar with the with the Welsh accent. And I don't know how accurate it is, but the justification is these are like North Welsh, right? So that's why they sound not Scottish, right? Because this is sort of like a northern British faction, which they're giving the same Welsh accent as they do for Gwynedd. But anyway, let's go for a declaration of friendship. That's sufficient.
You have our assent.
Beautiful. Okay, so that just gives us a little bit more security. I like also that diplomacy seems to work in this game for the most part, right? You can look at these guys' traits, and you can make some reasonable inferences in terms of how it's going to go. And it doesn't just seem stacked against you like in Attila. You can make things happen here. So that's nice. North Leod. What about you guys? You guys are... all right, we got to get off Stratclute. North Leod, deteriorating. Why? Not really too much in the way of understanding why they're liking us a little bit less, but they're neutral, right? There's not too much to impact it.
I will hear what you have to say.
We could maybe get this going, but you know what? I'm just going to hope... I'm thinking they're probably going to fail. Northumbria's going to do well. We're just going to let them hang for a while, and we're going to go with Stratclute. We're going to just not try to hurt them. In other words, I want Stratclute to do well, so I don't want to antagonize them by allying with or friendshipping with someone who they may want to attack soon. All right, Galgoydel, this is another big question mark because they are a Viking Sea King culture faction, as you can see by the little ship. So... what do we do with them? It's deteriorating. They're not really a threat to us right now. So let's just leave them alone. And for Triu, let's see, defensive pact. We pretty much...
all right.
We've done everything we can do with them. We could annex right now. It's insulting at the moment, but we're not going to try it. Whoops. Let's check out Athfolkla. Let's see. Do we want to like...
all right. Persuade me.
Right, military access is going to be insulting. They pretty much, you know, don't like us. Actually, I wonder, will Fortriu... We've got a defensive pact. Will they go for the military alliance? No, that's insulting. Okay. All right, so Athfolkla. Right, Athfolkla. Here we go.
All right. Persuade me.
They're definitely not going to annex. We could do like a payment, a gift, right? And that is a specific amount, right? I think you can't like just set the amount for a payment. We can demand a specific amount, but with offering, you can't just say, I'm going to give you like 100 gold. It's like whatever they say it is, small, medium, and we don't have enough to give a large gift. So we could do this. This will increase our standing with them. I just don't know that it's really worth it because you just don't trust them, you know. I think we're going to have to beat them. So let's just call that good for diplomacy. And speaking of beating them, let's check out our objectives. This game does it pretty well, I think. You get sort of options as to how you want to win. The Kingdom victory is often what I end up defaulting to. Fame victories are neat, but they're kind of hard and a little annoying because you need to construct buildings that are often very far afield. So this one is in like Ireland. Right, I think. Oh no, this is down here. Yeah, but it's in Northumbria. Okay, what else we got? That's the Celidi Grand Abbey down there, Cathedral of St. Columb. Oh wait, no, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Let's see, because they don't... All right, Celidi Grand Abbey, here we go. Where can I build this? I think it needs to be in Ireland somewhere. I don't know. No, I think we can build this in our territory, but it takes a long time. But some of the specific buildings are like far away. So Colomb, where is that? Colomb. Am I missing where that is? There we go. It's down here, and I don't know why. Okay, so Colomb, that'd be up in... Yes. So, in other words, this is why we need to take this, right? If we want to win, like a fame victory, we would have to take this. Also, our kingdom victory is going to require that we conquer up here and that we get Athfolkla, right? We could go for conquest, but that's kind of boring. Just grab X number of territories. So we're going to probably go for a kingdom victory, but I always like working for the fame victory too. It's just a question of, do I feel like conquering those specific places? Okay, so that in mind, let's see. We've got a skill available thanks to the battle that we won. This is the longest first episode in a while. So we get to decide which retinue member we favor here. Let's see. For most generals, a priest is a really good option because +1 loyalty is nice. Loyalty is often a problem. Faction allegiance is also often good. You know, hurting public order of your enemy doesn't have too big of an impact usually, but it's nice to have. And eventually you can get decreasing enemy campaign movement. It's kind of amazing. So you may wonder, like, why do all these things work? Like, why does having a priest, a high-level priest, decrease the enemy's campaign movement in the province that you're in? And the way I justify it is the priest is part of a network of priests, right? The church has its agents, like, throughout this island. And the British Isles in general. And so by having your priest get in touch with others who might be sympathetic to your cause, you're denying supply, denying rest, maybe resources and things to the enemy. And so that's kind of cool. I like that they give you enough to justify some of these factors. I think champion's actually not super useful. It might be good actually for our guy because, you know, Cav generals seem a little more vulnerable in this game than the infantry guys. But by the same token, we can keep him out of the fight. And this is only for his unit, so it seems a little less of an impact. Bard is actually kind of nice for generals and kings and stuff, because having extra zeal, you know, is good. It also helps replenishment. So that's what I often go with. Forager you'd think is great because it improves food production in the local province. That's true. Getting that extra 5 would allow us to get another unit. But I'm going to go with Bard for right now. Actually, no, I'm going to cancel that because I remembered Quartermaster exists. Plus 5% campaign movement range. That is actually super important for our starting general.
The men are eager to get
So,
to
yeah,
it.
little extra bit of movement. So, we didn't decide where we're going to go and where we're going to, like, what direction are we going to head in at the beginning of the campaign. The problem's this. So, strategically, all of this is where a lot of our food production comes from. Rinnin farms. Dare farms. So, these are big. These are producing, let's see, 25 food and 20. So, it's 50 food. If we lose these two, we've only got 5 food production and we can train no more units. This is giving us a bit of income, which is nice, but the food production is the thing. And this is actually also giving us food, but these are not full settlements with garrisons. This is our, like, fortified settlement. What is this? Dunfoyt? I'm going to screw this up. I wish this was Aberdeen because I feel like I could at least say the modern name kind of right. But Dunfother is our stronghold, and then down here Scone, which is actually kind of nicely placed against these guys, but we've also got, you know, some food here and food here. So this area feels a little more defended, but the north feels very vulnerable. And if the Fort Trio falls, then this is just open to the enemy.
It will not fail you.
So I kind of feel like we got to get up here.
Move up to position.
And I mean,
We'll
look how
get
long
there
it takes to
soon
get
enough.
around, right?
We must rest first.
So we'll just head up there. And if we were to get a general, we've got 2 options. One that costs us nothing, one that costs us 400. We can get the nothing guy. Let's see. He's got some nice traits. Decrease upkeep for sword and axe units. He's a zealot, so that's okay. Enthusiastic is fine. Bloodthirsty's good. Plus morale when attacking. And he's tactical, which is okay. So he's got some good command. This costs us nothing, except it does cost 10 food to get him out into, like, an armed unit. And then we could train a few more units and have him in Scone. Let's do it.
War is what we do best.
Get him in here to help that replenishment slightly, so our food's now down to 45. What do we got for a garrison in here in case we're attacked? Scone has kind of a good mix.
For the glory of the Gales.
Let's start getting some cav. 1, 2. Yeah, let's just do that, and we'll keep it kind of low. And the last thing we could try is a potential feast. What this does is it decreases our food production, which is a real risk. I don't know what 15% means now. And it costs us a decent amount of cash, but it increases the influence of our king by a somewhat decent amount. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get over 6. Let's try it. Influence +2. Ugh. All right. Not enough. But I think that's permanent. And then this minus 15 food production is going to go away in 4 turns. All right, low loyalty. We're just going to deal with it, and we're going to click end turn. So we're going to get some diplomatic news here. So far, nothing's going on. This is the long part of the game. Turn times are fairly long. I get those 200 likes, though. Man, maybe I can be convinced to edit some of this boring stuff out. All right, so we've got some call to arms as I expected. Orkney is attacking for Trio. So I think we got to enter the war on the side of our ally. If we do this, we're going to get a little warning saying, you know, influence is going to decrease, something to that effect. So let's do this. All right, that's it. Actually, that's the only big news item. Riggin is at 2 loyalty. That has actually increased. Okay, so why is that? Maybe his personal loyalty has gone up. Okay, we've got 4 food, so we can't train any more units right now. Where are you guys going? Okay, they're going down here. Interesting. Okay.
The men are eager to get.
All right.
It'll be glorious.
We'll get you guys up here ready to sort of defend, because here's the thing: we entered the war. We didn't just say we're going to keep the alliance. We entered the war, which means now we are at war with Orkney, as indicated by these red circled points. And Orkney is you know, a good first challenge for us, right? So we'll see how this goes. They've already got 13 units in a stack. They probably can't support that, but the AI does, I think, get little boosts occasionally. I'm not sure, not 100% sure, but they may be able to train and support more units than the player can. You know, I don't know. So that, I mean, it looks like these guys are poised to do okay, but then again, we have Fog of War. So I think we're going to call the episode there. It's been an hour, I want to say, plus or minus. And so we're going to maybe see in the next episode where this all goes. This is just a taste of Thrones of Britannia. Again, my favorite modern Total War game. And I'm curious to see what you think of it. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care until then.